Good morning and welcome back to Morning Thunder, everybody. It's your host, Bobby Howard, with me, Jamison Maxwell. And Jamison, we are back at it again, firing this thing up for the NBA playoffs. The Oklahoma City Thunder, it was a little tight at the end, but they held on to that number one seed, both in the West and in the NBA. And they get their reward here. They get to wait to see what happens in the play-in. And look, you know, I know a lot of people, if you're listening to this show, you listen to a lot of Thunder stuff, let's be honest. And you've definitely heard, some folks on the good old Down to Dark podcast dance around the whole, dream scenario thing. It's a curse on their show. But this really couldn't have lined up better for Oklahoma City.
I say screw curses. If you think that the little podcast talking about how lucky we got to get these great opponents is going to somehow doom us, and that's the thing that doomed you, just throw that in the trash and be happy that we got a great road to the NBA Finals. That's what we can call it. Like, we don't have to go against Denver or San Antonio until the Western Conference Finals, and it's only one of them. That's the huge thing. It's only one of them. And I'm not going to undermine Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not going to undermine Houston Rockets. But in the reality, who cares about trying to hedge your bets? I think we should be really happy.
Well, yeah, not only that, but I feel like those Lakers, that Thunder team was way different than this Thunder team. The one in 2018 or whatever, the OK3 era Thunder is not this one, And that Jazz team is not the Lakers or the Rockets. And I mean, if you just look at it on paper, it's the easiest decision of all time. I mean, it's it's a vanilla paste or, cuttlefish and sandwich.
What a reference. I was not ready for that one.
I know, but it really is. It's a very, very easy decision because when you look at, you won't belittle them. I'll go ahead and belittle them. The LA Lakers are completely injury ravaged right now.
I'll belittle them.
I'm
Why
sure
wouldn't
the Rockets. What's that?
Why wouldn't I belittle them, Bobby?
Yeah, I thought you said I'm not going to belittle them.
Oh, you're right. I did say that.
You did,
That's not what I meant. I meant as an opponent, they're still good, but I guess I still could belittle them. Oh my gosh,
you still got to handle business.
Whatever.
If you show up and they're still an NBA basketball team, you still got to try. But no Luka Doncic, or Luka is dealing with that hamstring injury, which, as we know, is such a difficult situation in general. Tough to, very risky to rush back, very tough to rush back. And Reeves is just straight up out for the series, that first series entirely. That's not even a question, but Luka's doing his weird Germany, whatever goes on over in Europe deal. The bottom line is the Lakers aren't going to be healthy. And on the other end, there's still a chance they get out of it because Houston can be just an absolute mess at times. Culturally, things have been very odd. They've underachieved, even with, some injuries here and there. They don't finish games quite as well. I understand they've been on a winning streak here as of late, but neither of those teams really, strikes fear in my heart the way that Denver does, the way that the Spurs obviously do. It's really just about Denver, I guess, in this case, because, San Antonio is the 2 seed. But the Denver Nuggets, as we know, you kind of can't believe your eyes with the regular season all the way, or the deficiencies of the regular season, because they find a way to turn it on with Nikola Jokic and that crew. So, I mean, yeah, this could not be better.
I think what it comes down to is, Nikola Jokic can do things in finish plays, and there's nothing that you can do about it. He's one of the best players in the NBA. With Victor Wembanyama, his presence in the middle, there's just nothing you can do about it. With the other opponents, I understand Luka is a first-team All-NBA guy, barring, his 65-game settlement with the NBA, but, I feel like we can do stuff against him. I feel like we have a Luguentz Dort defender who can do really well, and then we put Caruso right on whenever Dort subs out. I feel like we can do something against him. Same thing goes for Austin Reeves. Same thing goes for LeBron. Same thing goes for everyone on the Rockets. I feel like we have answers, and it's okay not to have answers for every single team in the NBA, but that's what it comes down to whenever you're game planning for a team. If you're like, I know what the recipe is for success here, that's going to provide a lot of reassurance. The reality of it is, I think that we're the favorites versus the Spurs and we're the favorites against the Thunder, against the Nuggets, but there is not a clear recipe for success there, and it's going to take a lot of trials and tribulations and adjustments in the game scheme, and that's how we won the series versus the Nuggets last year.
Yeah, and not only that, I think the trials and tribulations point, that might be the one maybe drawback to all of this, if there was one, is, well, they're kind of going to waltz through this first round and have an easy path on the second. Isn't it better to be battle tested? And I think that to some degree that's a little bit of cope, because look, that banner hangs the same regardless. It doesn't matter who you're playing. And no, I would rather not play Nikola Jokic. It does that does like just avoid that. This team has already gone through the bumps and the grinds and has had to figure stuff out last year, and that cohesion from last year still carries over. So I have no issue with an easier path.
Yeah, I think every single loss this season, people were like, well, this is good. We needed this to really perk our guys up and realize what they needed in terms of the playoff. I'm like, you said it, Bobby, it's like a lot of cope. And so, do we really need some high-end first round and second round opponent to really rile these guys up? No. We've got a target on our back. We've got a target on our back the whole season. And how hard is it to show up for 82 games? How hard is it to show up for 82 days of work? You, ordinary Joe, right now, sitting in your chair, driving on your way to work right now, how often do you show up to every single day of work with your A game and you just go out and show out? You don't. So whenever our Thunder players go out there and maybe a couple games they probably don't play to their highest ability, I don't damn them, and I don't think they needed some wake up to lose that game. They've gone through it last year. They know what they need, and they know everyone's gunning for them and disrespecting them because a lot of people are picking against us right now. And I think that's all we need. We don't need a hard opponent to get any kind of motivation.
Right. And I think this is a team that, when the stakes are high and it's time to win the ball game, they find a way to win it. We've seen this before, and maybe the concentration hadn't been there in two of the tough series last year, in game 1 against Denver and game 1 against Indiana. That's really it, but that's not, going through a tough series against the Nuggets and dropping that game 1 didn't change anything when you went up against Indiana in game 1 there. It's a game-by-game basis. And
yeah, nobody talks about that, Bobby. You're exactly right.
They lost in the exact same way. And they've talked about it before after of, the Thunder have, talked about that game, and they're like, yeah, we didn't think it would happen. We thought we prepared for it, and it didn't. It just fell apart again, and that just happens. You have to go through that experience, but ultimately it's not going to be you don't automatically improve just because you solved a puzzle. It's not a linear path to growth and success. So this is a team that's going to have to bring their A game, every single night, every single game. It's the playoffs. You're cranked up that intensity regardless. And I think you're going to see it out of this team for sure, because let's be honest, we've seen it out of this team, in that run up to now, this run they went on, the 12-0 winning streak before the Boston Boston game where they dropped a pretty tough game, and then after that, before the last 2 games where they lost both. I mean, that is as sharp of a Thunder team as we've seen ever in the regular season. That was some of the up there with some of their best work.
Yeah, because it's one of the few times I feel like we actually could put out a squad that we want to have out there rather than just being forced and shorthanded based off injuries. It's another injury-riddled season, but now the way the postseason is, I feel good about our team. I feel exceptional about our health. Is there a little part inside of me that worries about JDub and soft tissue and hamstring? Yeah, but I mean, he's made it pretty clear for the past couple of weeks to a month since he's been back, by that time, I feel pretty confident that he shouldn't hurt himself again, but anytime you do it twice, I feel pretty darn good moving into what we saw at the end of the season and going into it. And I mean, thank God, Bobby, we don't have to go against Memphis in round 1 because they had us figured out. And if one of these play-in teams figures this out, I think that might be bad.
Tuamasislo might be selling his secrets on the internet, but to these play-in teams, because they know, John knows. I'm surprised nobody made a move at the deadline to try to get him to try to.
You're right. He could have been a Thunder killer.
I know he had us figured out. What a shame. What a shame. But anyways, no, I mean, I think they are peaking at the right time. I think their health is peaking at the right time. And I think some of these nagging injuries we saw, primarily Jalen Williams, the recovery from that second hamstring, you have to feel like the Thunder were slow playing that. The amount of times we've had Hardenstein recently missing games with his right soleus, injury management, that was slow playing. Caruso, they played him the same way that they did last year. And I think that's a very deliberate strategy to keep these guys fresh for a postseason run, which is beyond important. Obviously, availability is the best ability. And when you really think about it, I'm not going to, going back to your thing, there's no such thing as jinxes. If our little podcast has the magical power to make things come true, whatever. But, I mean, if you think about it, JDub is probably healthier than he was last year. I feel pretty confident about that.
Of course he is.
I do. I look, that hamstring, it looks a lot better. I can't speak to it, but I know for a fact he doesn't have a torn ligament in his right wrist anymore. So that's good. So automatically you have a healthier JDub. Chet is not coming back from breaking his hip. So he was looking at just peak form, right before these past two games where he sat out with, to rest. But this team is peaking at the right time, health-wise, performance-wise, and you have to feel really good about that if you're a Thunder fan.
Mm-hmm. And I do. And I'm surprised the media, really, national media, isn't doing as much. But then I think about it a little bit harder, and it's like everyone wants to be a little bit different. No one wants to fall in line. It's like picking Rory or McIlroy to win the Masters is not the fun thing to do, right? Everyone else was thinking about what else could they do, I mean, I get it's a little bit different, but people want to be the darling, and people want to be the first in on these, like the San Antonio Spurs. Like if I picked the Spurs to make the finals, like I was a believer from the beginning. I knew they weren't any other young team. I believe they can do it. And so that adds a little bit of credibility to you. If you pick the Thunder as an NBA analyst right now, it's just like, congrats, dude. Like, of course you did. And the same thing with like picking the Nuggets. It's like, NBA smart guy knows that Jokic is the best player in the world and deserves to make it to the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals past the Spurs and the Thunder. So that makes you like your status go up. So there's no point why in any Stephen A. or like any of like the Windhorst or like all those guys go out there and pick the Thunder. There's nothing in it for them.
No. I mean it's one of those things. I understand. When you see something happen multiple times in the regular season, you can jump to it and be like, "Oh my God, this team is cooked." We saw what we saw, with, those three losses in particular with OKC and San Antonio, and I'm not going to lie and sit here and tell you that doesn't concern me, or that San Antonio doesn't match up extremely well with their speed of their guards and Victor Wembanyama being a total cheat code and just in the sport, but. Regular season results don't always carry over to the postseason. And there's a lot of really good that San Antonio has put out there that the Thunder could learn from and figure out. And, you saw it in that the one Thunder win in Oklahoma City, where they fought back and, bit the Spurs really hard, that there is a pathway forward with that. But to your point about the media, just kind of like some of the national media just kind of needing to say something. What wins the award for like the most like contrived media like talking point on the Thunder? Because it's to me either the push to make the Thunder the villains of the league, or the Thunder have too many guys and Mark needs to figure out his rotation.
That's just stupid. Like the ringer needs to get their stuff in order, because that's just stupid. That's just it's a ball not know or take. Just it's
Bill's just trying. Well, it was Scalabrine too, which is part of it, but like it's
exactly.
Just you need something to talk about with the Thunder, so that's going to be your thing. But in order to really have that conversation, you have to completely forget about or pretend or just not know how Mark Daigneault operates. And he just throws a lot of guys out there. That's just what he does.
It's
when it's time to win, he refines it.
Being unconventional is how you win the NBA title last year. So, I mean, if you want to just fall in line and do what everyone else is doing, that's not going to get you anywhere. You gotta go against the grain.
Yeah. I mean, it's... What's the Sam Presti quote? To have an uncommon result, you have to be, uncommon, or something similar to that.
That sounds like him.
He said it much more eloquently than I. Yeah. I think he's exceptional instead of uncommon. Regardless, great podcast you had my part. To be exceptional, you have to be the exception. That's what it was.
That sounds actually really good too. But I kind of liked your uncommon thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the point remains, it's different, and that's not an issue. I don't think.
No, it's not. I think the thing is the Thunder being a villain. So what? Cool, make us a villain. Peg Lou Dort to be some villain player. That's just like what the NBA is, and that's what sports are. You know, whenever you have a really damn good team with really good players, people just don't like them. Like Tom Brady and the Patriots. You know, how many people don't like Tom Brady and the Patriots? Now, did they cheat? Yeah. No, let's just throw that out. But like before all of that, still people hated their guts just because they were so good and they're a dynasty. And so whenever you get hate towards you, like I still take it as a positive. I think that there's some people that go out there and make stupid claims. That's different than hate whenever they're just being stupid. But if there's like pure animosity towards the Thunder, bring it.
Yeah, I think to me it's one of two things. I think, yeah, any team that is a dynasty or has this role the Thunder aren't a dynasty, but they're like looming. They're obviously were excellent last year. They're excellent this year. And people want to see that type of team knocked off, unless you're a fan of the team, which I think part of the villain thing is the Thunder fan base is relatively pretty small still. The Thunder haven't existed for very long. They're in a small market, yeah. So it makes sense that there are more people who don't like them than do. And it's the issue that I'm like, they actually earn it by like being bad or not. Like, these are great human beings. Lou Dort's not really like he's clumsy. He could be a mess. I can understand focusing on him, get it, but he's not a villain in the same way that like Draymond's a villain. The same way that like some of these traditional sports basketball villains have been.
Dort is a little bit dirty though. Like you can't say he's not. He's not right. Just a clumsy oaf running around.
He's like Chris Paul dirty.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty similar.
Yeah. But
Draymond is in a tier of himself. You cannot compare anyone in sports to Draymond. That guy
maybe Patrick
is
Beverly.
No, I would say Draymond's worse. Yes, Beverly is bad, not nearly as bad as Draymond. Like it's gotten to the point where like just watching some of the things that he does from game to game, and luckily for his sake and his like reputation, the Warriors haven't been in a lot of big games recently, and usually the bad Draymond, where he does really bad stuff, like, like flail his leg out and hurt people, happens whenever the spotlight's on him. So that's probably why people have been safe recently from him, just because they're not fighting for much and they have like 37 wins or whatever this season.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, speaking of Draymond, let's pivot this conversation a little bit to the play-in tournament a little bit. So we're not going to do a full rundown. This is coming out on April 14th. So the first play-in game will already be wrapped up.
But who cares? The April 15th games is like the one that everyone wants to watch anyways.
Right. Exactly. Out of the play-in teams, I think it's clear what result we definitely want. We need the Clippers to not advance. Like the Clippers landing in the lottery, out of any of these scenarios, regardless of who the Thunder don't get, whatever, the Clippers not ending up in the playoffs is 1,000% like the most important thing to watch for here.
I agree. I mean, like, yes, is our percentage of hopping up in the draft like 1.5 or whatever percent if they go? Yeah, but I kind of like it whenever people are just talking about, oh, the Thunder shouldn't have this opportunity. This is no fair. Like, you know what? Actually, we should have this opportunity. We probably should have even had a better opportunity because the league has just been completely hiding this Kawhi Leonard, Pablo Torre stuff and obviously sitting on this egg until they can actually figure out, let's not give the Thunder a really great position whenever the Clippers are already let's keep this guy out there for the season and then deal with it next season. I think there's obvious collusion with that. And I don't want to be too much of a sports conspiracy theorist, but it's like, it does not take that long to do an NBA investigation to suspend Kawhi Leonard or put, any kind of reprimands on the Clippers. So screw the Clippers. That's why I said the Wednesday games are so fun because we get to hate watch Philadelphia and we get to hate watch Los Angeles.
Right. Which it feels like the old days of, kind of playing, watching, hoping something happens. We've had a couple of these with the Clippers before. And I mean, it is a long shot, obviously, but also Cooper Flag. Like, the Mavs got Cooper Flag with like crazy odds last year. So, not saying that because something crazy happened in the past, something crazy will happen, but I'm just saying, weird stuff has happened, and that would be kind of a pretty hilarious way to punish the Clippers.
Yeah, I think it would punish the whole league, though. It would be so bad. And if you want to say that the NBA lottery is rigged, like, good luck. The 7% chance that the Clippers would get if they jumped up, because they would get the 12 again, which, honestly, if we just stayed at 12, Thunder and 12 from the Clippers, I'll take that as a win. I feel good about whoever we draft in that position. But it's just, if you want to say the lottery is rigged, I'm just planning on saying the OKC at 12 and the Wizards at 5.
The poor Wizards. I swear to God, if the poor Wizards just keep getting screwed, I feel so bad for that team. That Sport City deserves better with that.
I wonder if G Wiz is doing okay after the whole Jackson Hayes thing. I think whatever happened with that lawsuit.
I don't know, but I mean, he was in OKC after the Jackson Hayes incident. So, like,
did he look happy?
He looked like he was having a great time. He was just running around. He pretty sure gave my grandma a high five at one point. I heard about that, which is great. So happy for G Wiz. He looked very jolly. That's one of the few times you want to see G Wiz, because either it's in real life, which you're at a Wizards game and that's just sad, or you see him in a 2K lobby and you're cooked.
Yeah, that dude's at least 7'8".
Hate the G Wizzes. But anyways, so obviously, the Clippers, you want them out of there, but mainly for draft reasons. Who would you want to see the Thunder play in that 8th seed?
I think it's very clear and obvious for me, and it's Portland for me. I think that they're just competitive enough where, like, they have, like, if you want to say, like, oh, we want Thunder not to just waltz through this and just easy mode their games. Like, you want a strong defensive team that's going to still test you, but whenever it comes down to it, like that, they do not have the players and the resiliency to beat Thunder in a 7-game series. And I think Tamani Kamara, I think, Deni Avdija, I think Donovan Clingan in the middle, like, those guys pose like a tough defensive matchup for us, but something that I feel like we could absolutely cook and go after too. I think it's the best of both worlds for me. That's the team that I'm going to be cheering for.
Yeah, I think it provides, like you said, just enough resistance. And, there's this other edge to it, too, where you're going to put Deni Avdija, right next to Shea. You're kind of going to get to see who the real foul grifter is there, front, like, back-to-back. Now, the people saying SGA is a free throw merchant, they don't watch basketball anyways. But those who are on the fence, or who do watch a little bit, it'll be on a pretty big stage to kind of see which one's worse. And it's clearly Avdija if you've ever watched a second of Portland.
And I'll go even one step farther on the people who think that Shea's the worst. It's like they just don't have the ability to make their own opinions. And it's really sad. They don't even realize that they have their own problem. Because maybe they might watch ball. Maybe they just follow in groupthink. They're just stuck. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, go ahead and watch these games and see what happens.
Yeah, it's a meme more than it is an actual take, I feel like, at this point. But it's something that's gone far too... It's annoying as hell. It's just not factually correct.
Yeah, but I think that if you want to say, like, the easiest, though, Bobby, if, like, who do I think that we would absolutely just put on the bottom of our shoe and laugh at them, I think it's Golden State. That team has no one. And, like, if Gary Payton can't do it, then nobody can do it in terms of defenders on the wing. We could just absolutely run and cook them like a Steph, a prolonged injury return for him from a knee injury, and then there's really nothing much else there. Like, don't tell me like the resurgence of Guy Santos is like you believe is going to get you a game or two in the playoffs. I mean, I think it's silly even talking about him, Bobby, because I think that they're just going to get demolished and stomped by the Clippers in that round. But, I mean, if you want an easy road and a little bit of joy of beating Steph, I think the Wizards would be the one that a lot of people would cheer for.
The Warriors, yeah.
The Warriors, yeah.
Yeah, we saw G-Wiz on the brain.
Let's talk about the
No.
Wizards some more. What do you think?
How did the Wizards have gotten way too much talking points in this podcast? No, but my thing, I think the Warriors would be the most enjoyable. It'd be the most just cathartic to just
Would it be
beat
the most
crap out of them.
enjoyable to you? I would hate it.
I would love to just
Draymond
stomp
might
out
do
Steph
something
and
bad to
Draymond.
us.
That's okay, sure. But my thing is, like, even talking about it is like talking about, like, yeah, what if you randomly put the Jazz in the first round? Like, the Warriors aren't getting there. The Warriors, it's just they're I believe, like, Steph, Porzingis, Al Horford, like, they're entering the play-in game on like a minutes restriction and a return to play protocol. Like, they're done. They don't. I don't think they want the 8 seed. This is a team that wants to get into the lottery and get whatever luck they might be able to try to get for, I don't know, to cobble out the sunset of, I don't know, Steph Curry's career. That's what they're playing for. They do not care about getting the 8 seed. It's just not going to happen. And obviously we talked about the Clippers. Don't want that. Matchup wise, they don't really give me much of a concern at all. There's just nothing there for me. I don't think, and not to disrespect Kawhi Leonard, they've had their moments this year. Obviously, ended on a decently hot streak, but I just don't find them to be much of a real concern. And the Suns, I think, have a little bit of feistiness. Maybe not enough to like really push the Thunder, but like that's a team I'd just rather kind of not see. Like, when it comes to the other four or like the other three, you don't want Devin Booker in a series. Just leave a guy who can hit shots like that. Just let him face someone else.
Yeah, I think that Phoenix is definitely on my do not face list. Because they've got the star and Devin Booker, but I think what it comes down to, like, whenever Thunder really struggle with teams, it's not usually the number one guy that gets us. It's the surrounding role players. And if you're looking at the 4 teams in terms of like whose role players am I scared of the most, it's definitely not Golden State. No. Clippers, no. I'm not scared of the Clippers role players. Portland, they're a little bit better, but Phoenix, like, they got some guys, like, you got to really give it to them. Like the way that Colin Gillespie has like gone out and carved a role into the NBA into a guy that we didn't really think was going to. That's just sheer good big time work ethic. Dylan Brooks is a dude, and we can give him crap for the reputation that he had many years ago. The reality of it is, like, he did so well before he was out near the tail end of this season. Like, he was having a really damn good year, and he came back, and he's been doing well still. And like, then there's like these, like, who are those little guys that are going to go out there and then really hurt us, like, and hit like 4 or 5 threes? Like, Jordan Goodwin's already done it versus us one of these games this year. Like, he's a guy who could hurt us. Ryan Dunn is a guy who could go out and do that too. Like, there's last time we had a podcast, Bobby, I was making fun of Jamari Boye. I don't know if you remember that one. You know who the leading scorer was in the Phoenix Suns Thunder game 82? Jamari Boye. I'm not saying he's going to be a playoff guy, but I'm just saying, like, I think they've got good depth, and I think the way that Thunder lose games in this first round is the role players beat you, and they by far have the best role players.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's one that, you don't feel like you're in danger of losing the series, but, like, I don't know, you don't want that thing to creep to 6 or something. Like, it feels like a gentleman's sweep that it could be annoyingly close to being, like, a little bit longer than you would like. So I'm with you on that. I'd prefer not to deal with them, but overall, any of these 4 teams, I feel pretty comfortable about the Thunder winning pretty handily. So we'll see how it goes. What are your predictions for how it goes down?
I think that it's going to be the Clippers, unfortunately, making it into that 8. I think Portland already showed that they can beat them earlier, but I just think when it comes down to it, I think it's going to get close at the end, and Kawhi's going to hit some tough shots and squeaking that out. I'd really like if the Warriors could somehow beat Kawhi, and the Clippers, though, I would really, really enjoy that. But that's what I think from that standpoint. And then so the 7, I think, is going to be Phoenix.
Yeah, we're really lucky that Portland is going to be at home for that one, because otherwise, I mean, on the road, it feels like, it's just not going to happen. But it's hard not to see a lights too bright moment there. They're still a very, very young team. Unless you have some, like, dramatic, obviously this isn't going to happen, some dramatic, like, Dame Lillard return out of nowhere, like, just for the play-in. I don't see it happening, obviously.
Well, there's a thing with Portland, too, and I don't think any of these players are like this, but you've got to think there's a couple people in the management, the front office of Portland saying like they don't want to make the playoffs. They've got their pick that's lottery protected. Like it's legitimately no pick, like or like because they're at like the 15th spot right now. It's either teams going to Chicago or they fall down into the lottery. If I'm a Portland fan, I kind of don't even want to go to the playoffs.
And there's some merit to that being your ending. Is we played a tough game, against the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard beat us, but we have our pick. We're gonna get better next year. We're gonna have Dame Lillard on the team, and like that little bit of optimism after a play-in run. It's like we got our feet wet a little bit with some high-level competition. Let's go into the off season and build back better, or just take another run at this thing.
And that's a management thing. I don't think Denny Avdia cares at all about that,
Right. Yeah.
But it's still a narrative, and I think that a narrative does carry a little bit of weight.
It's probably a little bit more positive than, winning that play-in and then getting swept by the Thunder or something like that. It'd be like think about that Thunder run, at the play-in year where the Thunder lose to the Wolves, and it's like, okay, but there's still optimism, all of this, blah 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 blah. If they found a way to beat the Wolves and then got unceremoniously just mollywopped by the Nuggets, I don't know if the optimism would be at the same level or how would you feel about it. So, and then obviously not being in the lottery and all that, who knows? But there's some merit to keeping that. I think they'd rather have the pick and still be able to ride out somewhat of a high than just get murdered in the playoffs. So I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think there's still a lot to enjoy as a Thunder fan and watching these games. But the reality of it is like, give me any of these 4 teams. This is an 8 seed that we're talking about right now. Like I feel very confident going into them. And really what it comes down to is like, I'm not going to try to overlook it too much, but it's like as a Thunder fan right now, because I don't have an opponent, like I'm absolutely looking farther down the line of like, what is the Lakers-Houston series going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, that's the reason we led with this damn thing anyways. Like, that's the most important thing about it is what happens in that series, what happens down that line. And yeah, outside of that, I feel like this first round is, just getting back into the rhythm, getting a couple new free t-shirts, just get the vibe of the playoffs going once again. And, that's going to be enjoyable. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to getting back at it. But in terms of the basketball talk, the strategy, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I mean, like, thinking about that Houston Lakers series, there's a part of me that really does feel like Luka went off to Europe, got his stem cells, and they're going to say, screw it, send him back. Because this is also the same team that saw him pull his hamstring versus the Thunder, pull his freaking hamstring when y'all are down by 30, and still kept him in the game, which is just absolutely reckless. It is unbelievably reckless for them at this point in the season and that point in that game, to where they're going to go and he's going to try to get, stem cells and a bunch put into his hamstring. He's going to hobble up and down the court and play in this series. And then it's going to be like, oh, well, Luka was hurt. Look at him. Pity Luka. We'll be better next season. And it's the same thing every single year, And so I don't think that even if the Lakers win that series versus Houston, I'm not concerned about a hobbled Luka. Like, I think we can say like, oh, his return to play, he might be back in time. No, you're gonna get a non-100% Luka. I think that team's cooked.
Yeah, no, I'm fully agreed. And the Thunder's guard rotation, especially how Lou Dort plays Luka, like that's just
gonna hurt him. It's not okay. No, don't cook that.
Jamison, no.
That's not what I meant.
Don't give them ammo. No, but I mean, it's
I'm saying it's not going to feel good whenever you have a tough defender on you. Not that he's going to hurt him, but
no,
maybe that came out wrong.
Hurt Luka, no, but it's one of those like it quite possibly might be the worst possible matchup. Trying to get healthy is getting a Lou Dort right in your chest, who knows your every move, and like I'm not concerned about the Lakers.
I might even put like Kaysen on him even more in that type of matchup, because Kaysen's feet are so quick that he's going to rip him all the time because his quickness and jump off the ball is going to be so low. The only hope that he has is just backing him down the whole time. And maybe that's one of Kayson's biggest weaknesses, and maybe we'd have to combat that and put him back on Luka, or Lou on Luka. But still, like, I feel very... Bobby, you want to hear a hot take? Like, if you say, who outside of the play-in would you rather play the most? I don't think this is... No, this is not that hot now that I say it out loud. I'd probably say, Lakers, Houston over Minnesota, even the way the Minnesota's ended the season. So I still think that yeah. But I think a lot of people are looking at Minnesota and the way they hobbled at the end. I still think that we've got the best matchup there possible.
The Wolves were the 6th seed last year, and they made the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, but also the way that they ended the season's been kind of off, and like Anthony Edwards is hurt, and like Rudy Gobert continues to be worse and worse.
Yeah.
I think this Minnesota team's different than what they were last year.
I don't disagree, but they just have this weird way of figuring things out in the playoffs. Or at least in the early rounds, and historically they have it against Denver. They have an edge against the Nuggets. That hasn't been the case this season by any means. But I don't know. I wouldn't count the Nuggets. I would not count the Wolves out, and I certainly wouldn't rather play them over Houston or LA.
They've been giving slow-mo legitimate minutes. Like, I'm not scared.
I hear you. Everything you're saying is making sense, but it's just, and you are right. This is a different Wolves team. No Nickeil Alexander-Walker, this season, and just,
which I think that might be the biggest deal right there.
Really, honestly, like genuinely, like especially with how well Nas been playing for Atlanta, like that was a mistake letting him go, man. I know you had some tough decisions, especially with Nas Reed, who's like a cult figure in Minnesota, but
I don't know if that's what I would have done.
Looking rough. That contract's looking rough.
I don't think I would have made that same decision with Nas versus keeping Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But, I mean, you're right. You can't count out a superstar in Anthony Edwards. But still, the way I look at this team, I'm not nearly as scared of Minnesota.
Yeah, but it's like... I feel like that Minnesota decision was like, yeah, we can't really trade him because we have a lot of people who tattooed Nas Reed's name on themselves with like in Times New Roman, and like that's been like a big deal, and we just can't really get rid of that guy, right? Like, I don't know.
They will. They're strapped. They are so stuck right now. They're gonna.
What's gonna happen now? Yeah, well, they're screwed cap wise. Jameson, any final things you want to say before we wrap this thing up?
No. I think that the Thunder fans are going to go through a lot of trouble in how they're going to approach this postseason. I think we are so excited to get here because, the regular season is a grueling match and we weren't really that healthy and was always looking to the future. But it's like the way we felt last year, right, was like we were so much looking forward to like getting that one title. We were the number 1 seed. We had all of the things, lining up for us well. But now it's going to be like, how as Thunder fans can we get that same intensity to defend? I think always we will want and say out loud, like, of course I'm going to cheer my loudest for this team. This is my team. I love them. And I'm going to get super pumped. But there's going to be a little part of your brain that might not cheer as loud and might not get into it as much just because that hedge that we won it last year. I want to really work and take that subconscious thought, throw it into my conscious and just trash it. Put that right in the trash and be like, who cares about last year? Winning this year means so much for our perception around the league and what fans respect of us. And if we could silence all these haters like we talked at the beginning of the show, like that is a big, big deal and should be as big of like getting your first championship.
Without a doubt. It shifts the equation entirely from winning a title and just getting on the map and just getting that done to building a legacy and building something bigger than one title. And this Thunder team is equipped to do that. It's equipped to repeat. It's equipped for runs, this sort of things. This is not just an ordinary team that won a championship and then came back the next year. When you look at the net rating, one of the best in NBA history, one of the few teams to do that, to be on that level back-to-back years. When you look at, getting the number 1 seed for the 3rd straight season, just there's so much historical context around this year that paying it off with another championship, I mean, that puts you in a different stratosphere. There are not a lot of teams who have won back-to-back. There hasn't been one to win one since the Warriors, in 2018. It's clearly just this is a chance to shift things and really kind of establish the Thunder. This Thunder run is one of the historically great teams. You're kind of chasing you're in different air now. You're not just trying to get one. You're in a different situation. With other teams in the league, specifically the one down in San Antonio, pressure to win now is high. Get this one now. Get this one now while they have no experience and you still kind of have that edge. Because there are going to be some battles. This isn't going to be a situation where the Thunder are going to be like, oh, they're going to win 8 titles in a row. That's just not the reality of one. It never was going to be that case because you have to keep guys together. You have to keep a roster together, and you have to make tough decisions down the line. So my advice is really to just soak it all up and enjoy it, because this is a special unit, a special team, that you're not having that retention next year. You're not having that 100% basically retention next year. So soak up the time with this team, with these moments. This is why you're a fan. This is what you do it for. And I think people will keep that kind of moment high, that feeling high, because even though the way I charted out, round 1, yeah, it's a bad team, but you're excited to be back, playoffs, all of this. Like it's a high level intensity. You have the recognition in round 2 with either Houston or LA, because with the Lakers, it's the Lakers, LeBron, all of that comes with it. Even though they're not good, you still have that kind of vibe. And then Houston, you have the whole Kevin Durant angle, which, we don't need to go into. So there's a little bit of motivation in round 2 to keep that energy up to 11. And then the Spurs or Nuggets in the Western Finals that's essentially the NBA championship. I think you and I can agree that for the most part,
Bobby, I'd be careful with that one.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because
Boston just beat
the Boston Celtics. It's a Boston. It's a Boston Celtics. I'm concerned about the Celtics. I think I'm officially concerned about the Celtics, but I'm more concerned about the Nuggets or Spurs ahead of them. It's one out of those 3 teams.
It's our most daunting matchup for sure.
Yeah. So I think there's enough to keep them going, to continue to be excited, but this season, all of this, it deserves its own hype, and I feel pretty good about it. So yeah, so Jamison, you and I, we'll talk again in a bit. We're mixing things up this year, so keeping a bit of a wider cast of characters for this one. We'll be back on Wednesday to discuss that first kind of the first 2 play-in games. We're bringing on my buddy, our good friend Andrew Brown, to talk that one through on Wednesday. Kind of figure things out for the 8 seed. Maybe talk a little bit more Thunder in general as we march towards the playoffs. And then Andrew and I will be back on Sunday, April 19th, to recap game 1 of the Thunder and whoever that is. So really excited to be back in the swing of things. We've got a great plan for this. We're not disappearing. We're not disappearing by any means.
We're just fair weather. We just come in for the fun times.
Yeah, we're like those those roofers that they warn you about that just show up after a hailstorm. That's us. We show up for the good times.
Such a homeowner to talk about that.
I only know it because I'd hear it on the radio a bunch of times. Like it's always the roofing ads.
Kids. It's like I only know about it from the radio.
Well, it's like WWLS or the franchise or whatever is like, we're not like those fly by night or fly by night roofers. I'm like, yeah, we're the fly by night podcast here.
I did see a guy in my neighborhood walking around with an iPad, and I went into my garage and closed that as fast as I could.
I could relate to that. I mean, without the garage part, because my garage doesn't move anything. Because yeah, it is a long story. All right, James. So good talking ball with you again. We'll see you soon. All right. And thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate it, especially after the layoff. We'll be with you all playoffs long. Excited to get back out at it. And look, get excited, folks. Playoffs are back in Oklahoma City. See you next time. Thunder up.